All right, guys. A little different intro there for you. So, listen, today we're going to do something that's kind of new and I thought might be kind of fun. I saw this video come up on my Twitter feed and I watched maybe 5 minutes of it, and it was pretty tough to watch. I guess at the time, maybe I was in a bad mood about Bitcoiners or something, but the video is there's a creator named, she goes by JustPearlyThings. I think her real name is Pearl. And she kind of became famous in what I would call the, I don't know, anti-feminism circles, maybe the anti, like, pushing, trying to dial things back a little bit. So maybe I don't know how you describe that. She's younger than me, and she's kind of got famous on TikTok. And so she went down to the Bitcoin conference because I'm sure a lot of her listeners are telling her all about Bitcoin. And this is a video of her experience there. And I thought it was interesting because it really displays some things that I find we're probably pretty bad at as educators, might be the best way to put it. And so I'm kind of hopeful that this will be maybe enlightening, and maybe we can learn something from it on things to do and things not to do. So let's just get rolling with it. By the way, I tried doing this before and I had a bunch of commercials in it. And so if commercials come up, just realize I'm not a super pro. I don't know how to avoid that. I tried to play it through and then rewind it. So I'm hoping that does the trick. So without further ado, let's see. I think I have oh yeah. Let me big screen this thing. Can you see it all right? All right. Let's go. Let's go.
What up, guys? Welcome to the Just Pearly Things YouTube channel. Today, I am attending the Bitcoin 2023 conference in Miami. I don't know anything about Bitcoin. I want to see what the deal is about Bitcoin. So today, you are going to see me get orange-pilled and see if I'm going to hop on the train. Like the video on your way in, subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. So what's a Bitcoin?
A Bitcoin is a part of you.
It's a part of me?
It's an agreement on a fixed set of rules that we can organize ourselves by. So it's just a mathematical equation running in the back of your head, and it's all about keeping a secret. If you know
What? A mathematical equation running in the back of your head? I don't even know what he means by this. A mathematical equation running in, I don't even know, unless that was edited in some weird way. I'm not even sure what he's talking about. And I don't know if this is that there's a guy, he's a Swan Bitcoin guy, Tomer Spotlight or something like that, Tomer, I think. And he wears like a leather hat like this. I'm not sure if it's him. I know his profile picture. I don't think it's him. But that leather hat is kind of like when you go to like some sort of outdoor art fair or something, there's always a guy selling knives and swords and shit like that.
know how to keep a secret, you can do Bitcoin.
I don't get it.
No, you will though.
You will.
Hi, what are your names?
Brandon.
Aladdin.
Can you tell me, like, what is a Bitcoin?
Aladdin.
It is anti the US dollar. Your US dollar is depreciating, Bitcoin is appreciating. So it's digital scarcity.
What is a digital scale? I don't understand that.
What makes money valuable at the end of the day is it's got to be a store of value. And our dollar is fiat currency because it's a medium exchange, it's portable, it's durable, but it's not a store of value. Money has to be a store of value. So we continually have this lie. People are saving these dollars they think are an asset, but it's actually a liability. That's why they get poorer over time. And that was the digital version of gold, but 1,000 times better because it moves over time and space, unlike gold that can't move over time.
What do you mean it moves over time and space?
The value of it, you have to be able to, when you're conducting commerce and buying something, you have to be able to move it over time and space. And if you're buying something that's in Thailand, it has to be able to move over.
I love, one thing that I noticed when I watched this the first time is pay attention to her face, because I think that's the thing that I'm focused on when I think about being self-critiquing of when I'm speaking to somebody. If I start to see the glossed over face, I'm like, I'm missing the boat here. I'm not connecting with this person because I'm not trying to understand their question, maybe, right? She's at the very beginning. Who knows? He's jumping way ahead. He knows his stuff though. I mean, I hear where he's coming from.
Space instantaneously at the speed of commerce. Gold can't do that. So you inevitably have these claim checks on them, dollars or digital representations of that.
Like, what's Bitcoin different from
A claim check? What,
money?
bro?
Yeah, I would say that is way better than money. Every other type of money requires some trust in some institution or that people aren't printing more of it, which they are, obviously.
Obviously.
And with Bitcoin, that doesn't work. You can't print more of it. No one can.
Oh, so you can't print, they can't make like code more Bitcoins or anything?
No, absolutely not.
Well, it is possible. I think it's unlikely, but it is possible. They're also all about the 21 million. And I know the 21 million is important, but that's not the only thing that gives something value.
That's the whole point of it, that it doesn't change over time.
And what's your book called?
The famous book is called Everything Divided by 21 Million.
Once you get into Bitcoin, it's so deep, and the rabbit hole goes so incredibly deep into so many directions that it's easy to get lost. So we put that all in this pack, simplified, and made it fun.
This is rare. This says taxation is theft. Taxes are mandatory contributions, often unauthorized, that a government agency, whether local, regional, or federal, imposes on people or businesses. Taxation is the process through which a government or other organizations demands that individuals and businesses pay an involuntary.
Oh my gosh. I'm about to get a commercial here, so I'll let this play out. But who are those cards for? Like, what's the market there? Oh, we're gonna get mad here.
Huh?
So sorry, just had a commercial jump in. I'm not sure how the heck to avoid that, but so I'm gonna delete that. I don't understand who this card's for, by the way, that she's reading. It's like a trading card or like a Pokemon card or something.
It differs from the other types of payment in the market because it doesn't require mutual consent. It isn't a direct result of any goods or services that have been provided. Governments force taxation upon citizens with the threat of force. So actually, I have a question. What about like the roads?
Okay, there's so many things I want to say about this. So the funny part is that, I don't know if you've ever heard of somebody, I think his name's Eric July. He has a funny clip.
Damn level 1 rookie, childish kindergarten ass bitch made argument that you throw out there is, what about the roads? You must drive on the roads. You must hate the roads. Fooling now libertarian by bringing up them bitch ass roads. Fuck them hoe ass roads.
The other thing is, like, I don't know what this is intended, to achieve here. I feel like she's, again, kind of like getting hit from all angles, moving money across time and space, sending money to Thailand, 21 million, mathematic equation in your head, if you can keep a secret. There's just not a lot of clarity. And I think we fall victim to it too, right? We fall victim to the same kind of quote unquote sayings or euphemisms or whatever we want to call them. These quips that we've just kind of learned to repeat without really thinking about the context in which we're spitting them out.
Roads, where we're going, we don't need roads.
That's right.
All right, guys, I've been told this is what you're supposed to read. This is like the Bible of Bitcoin. I'm not a Bitcoiner. I don't really know what we're doing, but this is the Bitcoin standard. All right. Then you go to the fiat standard. This is the debt slavery alternative to human civilization. They love when I cover this topic. And then principles of economics.
See, I think she's clowning like this is so boring,
and
right?
Like the firemen and the police officers, like, don't they have to take taxes for that?
If I have a money printer and I can print unlimited amounts of money at the push of a button, then why would I need your measly couple thousand?
Because it's the same thing, dude. You can't print money or not. Like, they're both taxation. They're both taking value away from people. There's no difference, except printing money and not charging any taxes just hurts poor people worse than rich people. So
$1 a year. I can literally push a button and print trillions of dollars in a matter of a second. Those roads can easily be printed with that money printer. So if that's where the money has to come,
who is this dude? Aladdin?
From somewhere?
He literally thinks there's magic or something involved in this. Like, you push a button and roads are created, and there's no taxation in that.
Well, then all of the inflation that comes from that $1 trillion print, that they send that money all over the world and pack all of these politicians with that trillion, How about not packing the politicians with those trillions? How about taking care of the roads so that we can afford to pay for good schools for our children?
What are you talking
all
about?
the other things that we work our butts off for.
So which one? Whoa. This, see, I got this in one of my spaces recently. Someone completely contradicts themselves. He's saying, like, why should we have to pay taxes if they can just print the money and spend it all on these wars and stuff? But then he's saying, why can't they print the money and not give it to politicians and fix the roads and schools like they're supposed to? But all the while, not acknowledging that that's still a form of taxation. I don't understand what he's saying. Like, is his ideal scenario that he gets to decide where this printed money goes? I'm not following.
How does Bitcoin change the culture?
Bitcoin changes the culture because it levels the playing field, right? Once we're all
See that? That's a good phrase. It's not technical. Levels the playing field. I do remember when I watched this before, this guy he's a PR guy or something. And those types of things we got to get better at. Levels the playing field. I like that.
On a Bitcoin standard, we all have the same opportunity to acquire, hold, save, see our money appreciate.
Same opportunity.
There's transparency in the money supply. That means that nobody can print more Bitcoin. There's only ever going to be 21 million, and then it's capped. Everyone has the same opportunity to mine Bitcoin. It requires resources in order to mine Bitcoin, which, again, levels the playing field.
If this video gets 1 million views, can I get a card?
So it was interesting. He says levels the playing field twice, opportunity, and... yeah, I like that. I like
this
that.
video gets 1 million views, she gets a card.
Why does everyone say Bitcoin's? I don't understand. Why does the financial institution not like Bitcoin?
Institutions don't like it because it takes their, the 2%, 3%, all the finance charges, everything, it takes their grift away.
And with Bitcoin, we don't need the money printer. And that money printer is what feeds their yachts.
Who would be at the top of the problematic pyramid?
The WEF. Go to their website, look it up, and their slogan, you will own nothing and be happy.
So what is this?
I actually think that guy would probably be fun to hang out and have some drinks with. I don't think there's anything bad about that guy. But that's, again, the type of thing that starts to sound very conspiratorial. When you go to somebody who doesn't understand the fiat system at all, and you start talking about the World Economic Forum, and I just feel like that it gets to be that's down the road. Let them discover that stuff themselves a little bit. Not the first conversation you have about Litecoin and Bitcoin. Don't bring up the World Economic Forum, okay?
What is right here? If you look at the back of your dollar bill, you got the pyramid, right, with the all-seeing eye.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I built this concept of the Bitcoin pyramid with the Bitcoin being on top, over the foundation of dead currencies, fiat currencies. Right here, and then basically just kind of describes what Bitcoin is. It's borderless. I can spend it back and forth, just you and me. I don't need a bank. And then it actually is a store of value. And Satoshi Nakamoto is the guy supposedly that invented the protocol for Bitcoin. Blockchain is the protocol where you can actually do transactions that are verified by miners. So if you've walked around and seen all these miners that have all these equipment and stuff, they can actually verify transactions.
I don't understand. Yeah, because I don't understand. Like, if it's digital, like, what are you like? Okay, so it's like this guy made this math equation, I think, that was for the Bitcoin, and that was the Satoshi guy. So he made that, and I understand the concept. Like, there's a set amount, so that's good. And and everybody's involved, so like we don't have to rely on the government, right? I understand that's good, and it's borderless, so you could do it from anywhere. Unlike gold, I understand that's good. I don't understand, like, if he created 21 million Bitcoin, how are they mining for Bitcoin? Like, that's what I don't understand.
Well, it's to verify a transaction.
Okay, what he doesn't cover here is that he made it, so Satoshi made it that there will only ever be 21 million. Most of you guys know this, but that the distribution schedule is so that it happens over the course of 130 years or something like that. So it's not like they all got released day one. It's a way of kind of slowly doling them out as you go. So it's not just like all hit at the market at one time.
So if I send you 1 Bitcoin, a miner will come in and say, okay, I have the Bitcoin to give to you. So we're going to verify that transaction because we know that I have the Bitcoin, and I say who I am and you say who you are.
You don't say who you are. I don't know what that is, what he means by that. I think that's actually, I think I know what he's intending, but that's probably a bad way of communicating that. Truly, nobody knows who's who going in between 2 wallets, but okay.
So verifying that transaction, they get paid in Bitcoin.
If the U.S. was still on the gold standard, would we need Bitcoin?
The problem with gold is what we were talking about earlier. Now we're coming full circle. So gold can't move across space, meaning if you buy something in Thailand, like we were saying earlier, you can't have final settlement.
Everyday occurrence, buying things in Thailand, which what a weird example. Again, I get what he's saying, but it doesn't pertain to her life. It doesn't interest her, right?
They don't actually have money. They just have a claim check or like a digit in a computer somewhere saying, hey, you bought this. But that value, the actual gold, didn't move. It's still in a vault somewhere. And the problem is governments or entities, commercial banks, they go put out way more IOUs into the system than they actually have gold. Then you have bank runs because then all these IOUs are out there. People come back to reclaim what they think they have in a vault, gold, but then they realize, oh, we gave out 1 million claim checks, 1 million no.
See, look at her. She's not even making eye contact with him.
Or IOUs, and there's only 100,000 in gold there. So now 900,000 of that is.
Look at her face. She's literally, just pay attention to her. She's so zoned out. Like, what are you talking about? I don't understand.
Is completely invisible, gone, and those people lose out. Whoever goes first gets theirs. Whoever comes last, they're screwed. So you still need that because gold has always been centralized. It always goes into banking and goes into governments. So you have to have Bitcoin because gold has been the best thing we've had for 5,000 years, but it doesn't fit the bill because of that, because it can't move across space easily like Bitcoin can.
I feel bad because he clearly knows it. I mean, he's not wrong at all. He's completely nailing the conversation, and I don't mean to make fun of him, and I'm not making fun of her that like she can't grasp it. She's an intelligent person, and I come back to this going, what are we not communicating? Like that just is going totally past her. It doesn't connect with her on why she uses money or what it means or what savings are, that type of thing. So I don't know. I don't want to fault the guy because I think he made a very good explanation of why Bitcoin is superior to gold. But all right, let's go on.
I still don't really understand what a Bitcoin is. I'm kind of, the IOUs are confusing me.
Bitcoin's energy.
Bitcoin's energy.
Satoshi.
So Satoshi is anonymous, and we have no idea who Satoshi is, and that's the most beautiful part.
Maybe it's me. I'll take credit. So if you send me 1 Bitcoin and the miner wants to like verify it, how do they get paid?
They get paid by verifying the block, and what's up happening through the protocol and the math, as you call it, it is generated through a lot of math. They get paid at the end of that transaction in Bitcoin, and then they can take that Bitcoin and put it on the market and sell it.
So will it ever be a point where we don't need the miners anymore?
2140, there will be no more Bitcoin to mine. Okay. So the miners, they will only make money off of transaction fees. When I send you Bitcoin, you send me Bitcoin.
Oh, so yeah. And so when that happens, what percent will they get of the Bitcoin every time you send a Bitcoin?
When you send a Bitcoin, you have to pay a network fee.
Okay.
And that's the only fee they get paid.
Oh, and that's how it keeps it more secure because you're not relying on the government.
How much is that network fee, sir, going to be?
And then the government also doesn't see what you're doing with your money. All right, guys, this is a very high IQ type of conversation. I really can't always keep up. Sometimes I'm starting to get it, but they lose me a bit. So far, this is what I understand, right? Bitcoin is different because it's got this code that everyone can be a part of. So therefore, we're not just printing money anymore. Then the second part is the Federal Reserve is bad. It's a private institution. And 3, there's Bitcoin miners all around the world. So they're all involved. And it was created by a guy we don't know. It could be me. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm just undercover.
But she's beating that joke to death. She understands some things about it so far, but again, I haven't heard her try to explain why she thinks it's cool or interesting or exciting, or that she would want to own some. That guy with the mining definition, I kind of want to circle back to that later, because he's kind of all over the place on what he's talking about. And again, I'm sure he means well, but he's missing a lot of information there.
Do you think though that there should be, in like your perfect world, there would still be some taxation for like the police officers, the firemen, roads? None. How would you pay for it then?
We would pay for that ourselves, but we would also have control over what they were doing so that they couldn't make the rules and smash us down.
Yeah, because the construction takes forever. I don't know who's in charge of all the you know.
You're fired.
That's where all the money is being laundered.
Yes.
Like
So
Donald
tell
Trump,
me,
you're
what
fired.
do you do? What's your role here?
So my role at BTC Inc., which runs the conference and Bitcoin Magazine, is head of community. So I basically coordinate our efforts with local Bitcoin meetups and anything that happens, in real life relationships among Bitcoiners, basically.
Why are you guys so passionate about this? It's the Bitcoin community is like crazy.
Take that snippet.
We have this opportunity to really transform the world. When you look around, it's like, what are the solutions? Who's fixing inflation? Who's fixing corruption? Who's fixing all of the things that plague our societies and have been plaguing our societies for 100 plus years as the money continues to die? And so Bitcoin is one of those really unique things that offers people that kind of hope, where if we can actually transition to a sound money, then maybe we can start fixing all of the things that are broken with the world. And
See, this guy's good. He talks about hope, fixing things that are broken. I also think it's funny, the music changes with him. Kind of has that soft, like he's getting this inspirational stuff. But this is the more cohesive message that will land with people, right?
with society, with relationships.
Why is Bitcoin going to change the world? Like what? It seems like it's okay. It's an internet currency. How does that change society and culture?
You first have to understand what money is and how it's broken in order to go about figuring out what the solutions are, right? And so right now what we have is a currency that is controlled by a small group of people. They can print at will, they can create more money, and that means that...
I'm sorry to cut you. That's politicians, right?
Politicians, central bankers mostly, like the Fed. Anytime you hear about we need to raise the debt limit, or we need to...
That's like interest rates too.
Interest rates, all of it, all the stuff that we actually don't really fully understand. They just kind of, it's all smoke and mirrors and people making these decisions that are kind of arbitrary. What it's done is it's created dynamics among people who are participating in the economy that are unjust. They're not really fair, because if someone has an advantage where they're closer to the money printer, whether that's large corporations or banks or whatever, they have an unfair advantage against the little guy who's working a wage job. We are in this debt-based economy right now where borrowing money has kind of become necessary in a lot of ways, and saving has become unpractical because people are not incentivized to save money. Because if you save money right now, it's going to be worth less in a year, in 5 years, in 10 years, right? So actually people are incentivized to spend money as quickly as they can right now.
That's a really key thing that I think we don't talk about enough, is that the current system incentivizes no savings and actually discourages savings. Hey, by the way, I'm going to take a second to take a note. If you notice at the bottom of the screen, exchange Litecoin for Bitcoin and Monero and other cryptos in Cake Wallet. I haven't talked about Cake Wallet in a little bit. I talk about it every episode because they sponsor the show. And go to the App Store, go to cakewallet.com and download. They have a desktop wallet now. They've got gift cards you can buy inside the wallet. I love that company and I love the app. I use it all the time. So do me a favor and go download the wallet. What's the problem?
And that's a fundamentally broken part of our economy, right? It used to be, even when we were younger, 20, 30, 40 years ago, people were incentivized to save money, and that was like a habit. That was considered a good habit. Right. Now it's kind of like, well, if I save, I'm putting out the same amount of energy to work.
Fair to the little guy, because if he saves the money and his only choice before like Bitcoin is to use dollars. Right. And so if he saves dollars to start a business, it's unfair because they're taking the money like before his eyes by printing more of it. So it's not as valuable.
See, she in like right there summed up probably the leading thing to talk about. Well, the current money system discourages savings because, like what she just said, money is devalued. You know, things are more expensive today than they were 50 years ago because the money is becoming less valuable. And so by holding dollars, by being your only option to actually grow your wealth is always in dollars, you're continuously playing catch up, right?
And that's why it screws. Yeah, so that's why it screws the little guy, because he can't even do what he's supposed to do. Like if he makes, let's say, 15 an hour, you could still save in like a year or whatever, 20, whatever number you want to say is like low paying. You could still save and start a business. Like even if your only skill is making sandwiches, you could save and open a sandwich business. But because of the money, they can't do that, is what you're saying.
It's like this treadmill of like you're trying to keep up, you're trying to save, but you're not getting your wages aren't keeping up with inflation.
So what do you say, like, because part of my head goes, well, we have the highest standard of living than ever before. Like my dad and his generation, they didn't have like air conditioning. They didn't have I think they register people in a low income, even if they have like TVs, you know, a lot of like discretionary spending, I guess. So how do you balance the little guys getting screwed over, but we also have the highest standard of living than ever before?
I think it's a subjective thing, right? There are certainly things that have gotten better, right? Air conditioning and having toilets that flush. Those are nice things to have. But then you look at things like, technology and the way that it now mediates human relationships. I think it's questionable whether or not that's actually better for humans or not. There are things that are positive about technology, Twitter, and social media, and there are things that are obviously deteriorating social dynamics. DoorDash, for instance, or Uber. Uber is very convenient, but Uber drivers make less than cab drivers used to, right? So
I'm going to take some issue with that particular statement. The reason taxi drivers made more is because they had to buy extremely expensive licenses from the state, and the state set their rates to drive up the cost of taxis. So taxi drivers did make more, but they had to take on, particularly like in New York City, it would cost you like $500,000 to buy a taxi license. So in reality, the government made a lot more, but Uber drivers is much more of a free market. So again, kind of the antithesis of what you would think this would be, but I'm not going to hold them responsible for it or anything. It's such a weird thing when they to bring up that specific example.
So there's all these things where it's like, what are we also undoing? Even though the standard of living has improved, but there are things that are actually getting worse the better that technology gets, which is kind of ironic.
So guys, this is my cousin Jonathan. Say hello.
Hello, world.
Why did you want me to become a Bitcoiner?
I think it's going to save the world. It's going to piss off all the feminists, which is fine.
I love doing that.
And the reason for that, though, is because nothing can be fake. And so
now let's see, it's her cousin. Does she get engagement with her cousin, or does she continue to drift off a little bit?
Bitcoin is going to make everything have actual value, because you can't just be usurped by any government. Doesn't matter whose government it is. All of our problems stem back from money. If you corrupt the money, you corrupt the culture. Who controls the money?
The Federal Reserve.
Yes. And who controls the food?
Companies that make food.
And who are they controlled by?
I guess the owners of the companies.
The FDA, the Federal Department of Agriculture.
Oh, that's true.
And so if you have an FDA, who is your Federal Department of Agriculture, ruled by the I'm blanking right now, the Federal Reserve, which, by the way, is not actually a federal entity. It is by name only. Okay. FDIC is also not actually insurance. FDIC is a fun way of saying taxes on everyone.
So you think that the money ruined society? I think it was women voting.
I think they're intertwined. I think if you go far enough back, you realize cheap money made it easy for men to be weak.
Real quick, the FDA isn't like under the thumb of the Fed directly. I think I understand he's saying it's all kind of one entity, but the FDA is a government entity. Yeah, whatever. I'll give him that. Okay, I saw this earlier. He goes on about weak men. Hold on.
Created a gap or a void that women had to step into, and so weak men created a need for women to be stronger, quote unquote, and then ultimately just tipped the scale of what it should actually be.
How did the money make weak men?
If someone controls how you're measuring the value of your work, like money is a store of value. Okay, so at the end of the day, if I pay you, Pearl, $1, and you have a decision to make, do I put that money in the bank and save it for future goods and services, or do I spend it instantaneously on like a food, like a hamburger or a cheeseburger, things like that? If somebody can debase that money, all they have to do is turn on a money printer. So they didn't have to do any work. They can just change the value of your dollar. If $2 get into the economy, your dollar is not worth $1 anymore. It's worth 50 cents. And so the problem is the government made people weaker because they made them believe certain things that weren't true. Is you felt like you had a lot of money, but you really didn't, because at the end of the day, like right now, a house is worth $500,000 if you live on the coast. Well, you could have bought the same house 50 years ago for $50,000, right? And the value of the house actually didn't go up. The value of the money paying for the house went down. So at the end of the day, if you worked your entire life, if you worked 50 years, and you worked 50 years because you thought $75,000 was a good salary, and then you turn around and you're...
She's making me laugh. She does definitely look like she could just be like, she's over it. She's probably been there all day, just over it.
Kids are making $150,000.
And by the way, I got a little tired of the Litecoin conference too. I'm not trying to say anything bad about it. Just, it's exhausting. It'd be a long day.
For the same job that you did, you're demoralized.
What is mine Bitcoin?
So mining Bitcoin means that you're using basically electricity. You plug in an ASIC, which is a Bitcoin miner, and it's...
Is a Bitcoin miner a person, or is that
a machine? Yeah, it's kind of hard to explain, but it's a machine that you plug in, and basically the more power that you use to mine Bitcoin, the more opportunity you have to actually compete in the mining market. So it's kind of like, think about when you mine gold. In order to mine gold, you have to have a lot of resources in order to hire an excavator, to go out, hire people, and it costs money. It costs in order to extract it from the earth. Bitcoin mining is similar in that way. Like you can't, it's not free to mine Bitcoin. You have to invest in order to do it, but anyone can do it, right? So it's a even playing field.
Well, I thought it was them doing math. I thought it was some girl like sitting on her computer doing some math. But so it's not math.
It's literally, you plug in a machine and it just starts like to spin up, and it just like the machine is doing math, really complex math apparently.
Okay, this is the reason I paused, because like I said, I did watch this before and I knew that he brought this up, and so I thought of a decent analogy that I think will help anybody explain what mining is. Okay, so I want you to imagine like a above ground swimming pool filled with marbles, and not all but one are black marbles, and there's one white marble in there. And what mining is every time you do a hash, you're reaching in and trying to you're pulling out a marble at random. You can't like look and try to sift through and grab one. You're just randomly grabbing a marble. And however many times you have to pull out before you get that white marble, that's kind of how many hashes you're putting in. And so the difficulty adjustment is related to how many people are reaching in. So obviously, if one person is reaching into that pool to pull out, potentially that white marble, it might take them. The idea is it's going to take them 10 minutes. That's what the difficulty is for. Is that in the beginning, let's say it was just one person, it's going to be like maybe a bucket, a 5-gallon bucket, and it might take me 10 minutes to pull all those out and eventually get to the white marble, right? And if there's 2 people, well, I need 2 buckets worth. And if there's 2,000 people, I need the equivalent of 2,000 buckets worth of black marbles, and still only that one white marble. So as difficulty goes up, what you're doing is you're just increasing the pool, the number of guesses it takes, to find that white marble. And the way they adjust the difficulty is they say, well, okay, if this pool is 10,000 gallons, and it's filled with marbles, and the average block time has been 9 minutes for 2 weeks rather than 10 minutes, what that says is that my pool needs to be 10% bigger, because clearly, based on how fast these blocks are being mined, I don't have enough marbles in the pool to maintain the 10 minutes. So after 2 weeks, that pool grows 10%. And then people continue to guess. So every hash, all these miners around the world are all pulling marbles out, right? And these are such large numbers. I'm using that analogy of a pool to keep it kind of small. I mean, these numbers are on par with like grains of sand in the world is how many guesses are happening. It's just an insanely high number of guesses are happening among all the miners in the world. So the difficulty is extremely high. So when he says anybody can join, you can join, but you got to buy a pretty expensive machine, whether you're mining Bitcoin or Litecoin. I think that's a good example for hashing. If anybody asks you, what is mining? What is the difficulty? It's just a guess. It's a random guess at a number. It has nothing to do with math. It's purely proof of work, meaning it's purely brute force guessing at an answer. And that's that white marble is a particular string of numbers that you're essentially guessing at. If that makes any sense. I hope I helped. I don't know if that helped. But all right, we're going to finish this up. And hopefully I don't have more long rants for you.
And then it's called hash power. The person who has the most hash power has the highest percentage chance of finding the next block. And whoever finds the next block, whichever machine finds the next block, gets the block reward, which right now is about 6.25 Bitcoin. As you look around society right now, we're very divided. People are at each other's throats over everything. Bitcoiners have found this common ground of what they want to see in the world. And I think that's really where it starts. Like when you get together at a conference like this and you're just having conversations with Bitcoiners, you can actually have real conversations about real issues that are happening without worrying about people like canceling you or judging you or whatever.
Unless you use Litecoin.
And not even necessarily because everybody agrees on everything. That's not the case at all. It's just that everybody agrees that everybody should be free to interact and transact and
except with their coins.
Participate in an economy in a way that is just and is not corrupted and is not mitigated by the government or by regulators or whatever else.
All right, guys, I'm finishing up day one, and I've learned a couple lessons today. So essentially, the government is robbing us because it's a small group of people printing all the money, and therefore, even when we make money, we have no incentive to save and really build financial freedom, and we're depending on the government, which apparently the people printing the money, it's like a private institution, and the politicians are shareholders, we think, and so they're not really incentivized to make the best policies for the people. Now, Bitcoin apparently is different because there's a set number of Bitcoin. Everyone can see it.
And Litecoin.
And it's very transparent. And I don't really understand how the miners work, but basically anyone can become a miner, verify payments, make sure it's real. We're being robbed in front of our eyes. Okay, I'm kind of confused. I'm a bit confused at the math equation. I don't really understand the math. I'm confused about how you mine a Bitcoin. I'm confused on how, if the internet went off tomorrow, how Bitcoin would continue to go.
Okay, so if the internet went off tomorrow, which means by that you'd be talking about the entire internet around the entire world going off at one time. Could that happen? I suppose. Boy, in that scenario, I guess everybody, once the internet came back on, nodes would fire back up again.
I'm a bit confused. Apparently, Bitcoin, like bad money, has ruined families, society, the food. I don't really fully understand that, but I do see the value in having a currency that has a set number. I think that's important. And I do see the value of having a currency that the government has no part of. So that I understand. But the other parts, I'm a bit lost. But thank you guys. Tune in tomorrow. I'm gonna come back here. So we'll see what I learn tomorrow.
I'm gonna leave her. Sorry about that. Oh, look at Slight. You know what Slight is? You guys may not know this. Robbie Coleman, who's part of the Litecoin Foundation, does all their marketing and stuff. I think he either created it or he's got a part in it. I might buy one of these Slights soon. That's probably why it popped up. Okay, I'm going to really try not to add too much to this. I think actually I could be, maybe I was a little harsh. Maybe I was a little difficult on some of the early guys. Maybe I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. I know that they mean well and they're trying to do the best they can. But, I have a bug up my butt about a lot of Bitcoiners because they are so unfair to Litecoin for the most part. But overall, I think that was actually pretty good. I think she went in there and got a very basic understanding. What I still would like to see is more the why. Why does this thing exist? Why is this important in my life? And thinking about things that we can communicate better to people in our own lives. And I would say the devaluation of money is probably the biggest thing to focus on. That over the course of time, your money will consistently become worth less and less and less because there is no fixed supply, because there's no governor, so to speak, on how that's going to be dispersed over time and who gets to have it where with things like Litecoin and Bitcoin, it's set in stone and it's something we can rely on. And I think that's a really important aspect, that if they have further questions beyond that, well, how can you guarantee that? Okay, then we can get into mining, right? But man, my hair's all floopy today. But until they ask those questions, like, just keep it real simple. You know, it's a savings technology. It's intended to provide some privacy and opt out of a system that isn't fair, frankly. And we need a more fair system of money that really levels the playing field for the masses. So, all right, guys, appreciate you trying to stick this one out. And I hope it went well. If you like it, please comment that you like it. I'll do more of these. I'm trying to do more kind of content reading and content interaction of other people as opposed to just my own stuff. So, all right. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.